so. So, you ever wish that you could add, put your favorite wish thing here, to your Google Docs? Well, you just might be able to now. So we're going to talk about some new functionality in Google Docs and some things you probably don't even know that you can do. Come on, let's talk some tech. Okay, so Google Docs. If you're not using them, they're definitely worth taking a look at. I mean, not only are they a great way to just kind of jot down notes on the fly, because you can use it from anything, any device that is internet connected. You can pretty much go to town on your Google Docs. But if you need to do any kind of collaborative writing, building, planning, Google Docs are phenomenal for that, because everybody can access it. Everybody can do things at once. You can add comments. Like there's so much flexibility built into them. And that's always been the case. But since they've enhanced things and they've taken it sort of to the next level, the Smart Canvas upgrade that they did, which from first glance doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on, but underneath, underneath in the code, right under the cover, so much more power now. So I'm going to show you two new things that have come to the Google Docs world that just really are massive time savers. But also I want to make sure that you're aware of the fact that there's even more you can do. And in the description, I've linked to a page that explains some of the other things. You'll see some of them as we go through these examples, but wow, so much cool stuff. So let's go ahead and dive into this, shall we? Alrighty, let's do this. So this is a completely clean Google Docs world. This is all of the stuff that you can do. And if you've never ever worked in Google Docs, this is what you're going to see first. If you've already worked in Google Docs, you'll see a slightly different layout. You can still get to this one if you want to come and pick a template or whatever. But I just want to start from scratch for anybody who's super brand new to this. There's lots of ways to get to Google Docs. You can just go to your drive. You can select it. It's available in the side menu. There's lots of options. So for the purposes of our discussion here, we're going to just start with a blank document. Okay, and this is what it looks like when you start. And this is really all you need to get started. You can just go ahead and start typing away. But I do want to point out to you that you can go into page setup and you can choose between pages, which is your traditional like word processor format, right? Where you've got whatever your favorite paper size, page 1, page 2, page 3, or you can go pageless, which if you're doing planning, you're doing things online, you don't really need the page breaks, right? It doesn't serve any purpose when you're online, so you can go without it. So I'm going to do that just because that's my favorite thing. You can also choose to change the background color, right? So if you are more of a dark mode fan, but you want to be like different levels of it, you can go completely dark if you want, however you prefer to do things. Again, for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to go with a lighter one. I usually go with a slightly darker gray just because it's easier on my eyes, but you can do whatever you like. Okay, so here we are. We're in pageless mode. And we're going to do, maybe, you know what, for the sake of not confusing people, maybe I'll just leave it in a more traditional, because as I'm thinking about this, I'm getting advanced too quickly. So let me go out. We'll go back. We'll just stay in this simple, straightforward world. We can always get into more detail later. All right. So here we are. You've got your page and you literally can just start typing. But you'll notice when I first started this, right, there was something that was already on the page and it goes away after a while because it's just there to let you know that you have options. So the first secret trick to this is an @ sign. When you click on that, when you type that in, you get this menu that has all of these wonderful things that are now available to you quickly through Google. You don't have to hunt through menus. You don't have to go through any. You can just do the @ sign and pick your favorite thing. So we're going to start by talking about the Dropdown. So there's a couple of presets and then you can build your own. So we're going to just take a look at one of the presets, the one that is probably going to get the most use right out of the gate for people, and that is project status. So you can select that, and what that does is it gives you this little pill-shaped thing that's a drop down. And so if you're working on a shared document, right? So let's say we're doing, you know, super big project, right? Oh, it would help if I could spell. Here we go. And let's give this, you can select, you know, all these kinds of good headings and all this kind of stuff. And you notice over here, then when you actually apply a style to something, it'll actually help you outline your document as you go, which is handy. So let's say this is a super big, you know, start document and we are just getting started, right? But now we're ready to get started. So we're going to say that it's in progress. So this is a way, as you're sharing a document with multiple people, or maybe you've got a team of people working on it, but the boss is going to come in and want to check on things, or the project manager needs to come in and check on things. You could add this quick little thing and keep people informed about what's going on. You'll notice that these options very closely map to most of the project management approaches that are being used today, but you can change them, right? You can go into add and edit, and you can, change the things. So we could say not started yet. You could add a new one, waiting on info, right? You can also come in and you can change these colors. So let's say that waiting on info, that gets a big old red warning sign, right? Because that's holding us up. You can also rearrange these if you want. So, if you want to put all of the negatives together, or not negatives, the blocks, these stumbling blocks, right? You can put those all together. You can arrange it however you want. You can remove things if you want. And then when you save it, and so then when this is here, now you can just go ahead and change this. So I know some people are going to be like, big deal, but it is a big deal, right? Because it gives you a quick and easy way to standardize things. And if you're working on a team, you can actually build out a template for your team that already has stuff like this built in. So everybody's using the same thing and doing things the same way. And it makes it really easy and fast for everybody to know what the status is, do what needs to be done, so on and so forth. So let's go look at another one. So again, we do the @ and they're pushing all the new stuff at the top. So now this will probably be down here someplace. Drop down. Okay. So the other thing is review status, right? Generally, when you're working on things in a team or in a corporate environment or in an organization of some sort, people want to know what's the status of the thing, and then where is it as far as the review process goes. So again, it's just, this project just got started, so not started makes sense. But you could say that the review is in process, it's under review, it's approved. Again, and you could add something else. You could say, kicked back for changes. You'd probably use better wording than that, but I'm pretty straightforward, as I'm sure you've noticed by now. So let's see, we could make that maybe purple, right? Okay, and then we've got another option. So that in and of itself is super helpful, a huge time saver for a lot of people, will be very, very handy for folks. However, there's more. Because if you wanted to do one of these for a completely different purpose, you can create your own. Whoops, let's go down to the bottom. Click drop down, and you can select new drop down. And for this, you're starting from scratch. You're building your own whatever it needs to be, right? So let's do a, Murphy's favorite treats drop down, just because we need an example, right? So we could say he likes his chicken strips. Strips. There we go. Well, I'll go back and edit it. I wasn't done yet. Okay. And we'll give that kind of a chickeny color. And then we'll say meatballs, because he's got these meatballs that he just adores. So we'll make that. And then we'll say cheese, because he is definitely a cheese hound. We don't have another yellow for that, so let's go with the gray. And then we can just say, if you don't have to do all of them, right? And it's like, oh, well, I don't really want option 4 to show up. Well, just come in and delete it. Boom, it's gone, it's done. So you can absolutely customize these however you want. You have total control of them. As you can see, you can add, you can edit, whatever. So this is one of those things, like Google gives you things, it suggests ways to use it, but if you want to go and take it to use, for other things, that's totally fine. So getting back to our example of a team, maybe you want to get into this and you want to put, the people's names in it, right? So we do a new one and say, maybe how about project lead? So the project lead for this one is, Sally, or it's Karen. No jokes there. Ed, or what should we do here? I'm just drawing a blank. Okay, so here we'll do that. because that's not me. I don't ever do that to my name. And then we can pick colors to associate, or they can pick their own colors if you give them that option. And there you go. And so now, you can, and to make it clear, you could say something like that, right? It's very hard to talk and type at the same time. I never knew that until I started doing live streams, but wow, it really is. So this way, so we can take Murphy's thing out. You could, again, as you're building out your template for your team, your group, your organization, whatever, you could build this out, because if it's rotating through certain people, like if you have certain people that are always leading, you can just have this list here and they can go in, they can select it and move on. And you can also be sure that people are being referenced the way they prefer, because you, of course, would put it together the way that they prefer to be called, whatever names they like, right? So there you go. That's the starting point. That's, the newest thing. That's one of the newest things that's been added. So I wanted to make sure that you saw that and you knew that it was there. And again, it's the kind of thing that the more you use it, the more ideas are going to come on how it can be useful for you. But you can just start off by using the 2 that they give you as a default and making those work for you. Hey, Marcus, how you doing? Yeah, I thought this was really cool, too. This was a nice little touch that they've added. Yeah, and they're constantly adding to it. And they don't do a great job of getting the word out there about what they're providing. But I'm on a lot of different teams. I work, I've got my own business. I work for clients. I've got my day gig. So basically, I live in Google Docs, the Google world these days, because it's such a great team tool. And because, you can't beat the price. But so that's the other thing that I should make clear right now is the fact that the stuff that I'm showing you, all this stuff, the menu of and all the different functionality that comes with that, it's available to everybody, right? So it's not just the workspace people. It's not just whatever level of the Google world that you are in, you have access to this, which I love. Because, they rightfully so, there are some things that they release that is just for enterprise clients or whatever. But this is available to everybody. So we can all play in this sandbox. So that's where we're at with that. And like I said, when you go here and you do there's all these other things that you can do. So if you check in the description for this particular video, there's a link there that gives you access to a whole list of different pieces of information about what's available. And it's a Google Doc. Not a Google Doc. It's a Google Help page that they're constantly updating. So it's a really good way to stay on top of what they're making available. So I highly recommend you go and check that out, because right now I can't go through all these things. But know that they're there. And if you want, we can certainly go through some of these other ones in the future. So that is part 1. Let me just see if there's any questions. I think that's pretty straightforward, right? I mean, for the most people, when I'm showing this to them, the question is, how would I use it? So that's why I made these examples pretty solid, right? Real world. And that's, I think, why they started off with the 2 that they did, right? The status and the review, because those are the types of things that tend to be involved in whatever project you're working on. However big or small it is, they tend to go through pretty much the same processes. Alrighty, so let's go to the next one. All right, so among all of the other wonderful and awesome things that you can do in the Google Docs, they have actually started adding table templates, which, again, a huge time saver. If you've ever been the person who has to start to organize these kind of documents, tables are a great way to format things and lay them out and, provide tabular data. But building them over and over again is frankly tedious as hell. So I'm really excited about this. And there's just a couple to start with, but there will be more as things move along. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're talking about. Magic button. There we go. All right. So again, this is all stuff that's coming from this at menu that they've added. And if we go down, I think it's actually, was it the ones on the top? No, it's these. Okay. So you've got the project roadmap, the review tracker, the project assets, and the launch content tracker. So let's just start at the top here. So, hey, look what we got here. These little drop downs that I've mentioned before. So you can go ahead and, again, it's the same thing. So you can come in here and you can add and you can edit and you can change, right? If you want not started to look more severe, you can. just this instance. You can make it carry across if you're using it in multiple places. And then you could just come in here and do big project 1. Project 2, whatever, you know. Whatever. Whoops, I put it in the wrong spot. There we go. Okay, and then, you know, you could, whatever associated files or whatever, notes, it's all there. So let's go take a look at another one. And they've got these other pieces up here. I guess we could do this one too. Yeah, let's stay oriented, right? So we go down to tables, right? And so here are some other tables. So we've got the review tracker. So if you need to track your reviews at a higher level, you know, and break it out if there are multiple reviewers and all that, you can put it together this way. Or you can come down here. I should probably scroll up. Yeah, let's scroll up a little bit. Let's do that. Let's make it easier to see. Come. Oh, keyboard, don't go to sleep on me now. Alrighty. Come on, I didn't scroll down far enough. There, let's push this page a little bit. There we go. Now it'll be easier to see. All about the tricks of the trade. Okay, so let's look at project assets. So again, you know, you can integrate other elements from that list. So again, they're using the drop list here. Let's look at the others. Come on. Oh, I keep moving. There we go. Now that's me. I've had too much caffeine today. Can you tell? So here's the launch tracker. So again, these are just starters, but it's just like granted, you know, I get, you know, excited about weird tech things. I admit that, you know, that's sort of my world. But this is the kind of thing I'm like, oh, thank you. This is going to save me so much time. And instead of like, you know, when we're in meetings and people have an idea, I don't have to go and be building these things out from scratch every time. Or, I mean, frankly, I do have a cheat sheet, you know, where I just copy and paste things over, but then I'm having to switch documents, which confuses people in online meetings. So this is a lifesaver as far as I'm concerned. I'm hoping it's going to be helpful for some of you folks too, but this is the kind of thing that makes me happy, because anything that can make me more efficient and keep me focused, right? Because every time I have to, during a meeting, go and start building a table, well, I'm really good at multitasking, and I know people say multitasking doesn't exist. It doesn't exist for some people, like everything else, right? Absolutes are rare. There's a handful of them, but that's not one of them. But it does separate my attention, so this is much better. You can also come in here and just, you know, do your regular table build. So you can come in and start from scratch that way if you want, or you can still go up here to tools. Is it tools? No, it's insert. Sorry. Insert table, and then pick it this way too. And you'll notice if you do go, like if you forget about the @ sign, you know, in a moment of panic or whatever, or you're tired, you haven't had enough coffee, you can also access the templates from here. So you're not restricted to just accessing it from the @ menu. You can also get it from the regular table menu option, which is, these are the things as a UI UX person, makes me happy, because there should be more than one way to get to this type of functionality, right? It doesn't serve people to only say you always have to do it this way. It needs to work for the way that you're working in that moment, and that's the type of thing that this does. So that's what I wanted to let you know about. Like I said, there is a ton more stuff. All right, so I'm going to just show you one more. I'm not going to actually do anything, but I'll just point it out to you. So when you go in here, another thing, well, is super handy. Now, okay, you can do meeting notes, you can do an email draft, blah, blah, blah. The checklist is pretty awesome, because instead of having to go and build these over and over again, you can come in here and you can do this, and they're actual checklists. Okay? Oh my goodness. I mean, time savers galore. And especially, like, I live off of my checklist. Like, everything I do is either in my Trello board or in a checklist. And mostly I use Google Keep for that, because it comes with that checklist feature. But this does open up the possibility of, you know, on the fly, if I'm already in a Google Doc, I can just throw it in there and make it work for me. So Marcus is asking a question. Let me come back here. Uh, can you create your own templates? Yes, you can. So if you saw before, am I going to be able to get back to that? I never find it super easy to get all the way back to. Okay, so you see how there are templates. There's a, whoops, I'm sorry, I should actually share. Here we go. So there's a template gallery. And by the way, thank you for bringing this up because I did want to show this. So if you select a template, right, you have access to these things there too. So if you're using one of the templates that they have, you know, for your project, you can go, you have the same access to this kind of functionality from their templates. To your question, Marcus, yes, in addition to using templates provided by Google, you can create your own and share them amongst your team. That's a bit of a more advanced topic, but I love it, and I think I'll do a show on it. So thank you for that. And I know where to find you, so I'll let you know when I'm going to do that. But that is absolutely something that you can do, and I recommend doing if you have certain formats that work really well for your industry, the way you work, your preference, whatever it is. You can customize this kind of stuff and make it really easy to get to, and then make it easy to share if that is something that you need to do or want to do. So yes, there is way more flexibility available in this tool than most people think, because when it first came out, it was pretty basic, right? It was, I wouldn't even call it a word processor when it was first released, but that's okay, because that's the way to do these kinds of releases with these online tools, is they get something out the door, they make it available, let people start using it, and then as the request comes in, they already have that list of, here's all the things we want to add, right? I can tell you from working on software projects, there's always a massive list as you release something new, you know, where people are like, well, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this, and these all go on the list. But the ones that get implemented are the ones that the actual user community asks for, because that immediately moves it up to the top, right? So like, I basically want to buy, you know, flowers, pizza, and candy for the people who finally gave us the easy to do checklist, because while you can manually do them yourself in Google Docs, this is so much better. Go in, select it, start typing, boom, boom, boom. Every time you hit return, it automatically adds a new one. Love this. Huge time saver. And that got bubbled up because enough of us asked for it. So it's all kinds of awesome stuff. It's important to remember that as the user community of a particular tool, we do have the ability to help make it better. And all you need to do is reach out to them. There's usually some sort of online form or a help link that you can go to, and ask nicely, but know that, you know, one person asking gets noticed. 500 people asking gets noticed more. So be a part of that louder voice by adding your voice to it so that it gets taken care of. Marcus says, I don't know why I have to hit it twice today. Web technology also came a long way since they initially released it. And that's exactly it. Those two things run in parallel, right? So the improvements in the web technology, and so because I do coding too, I always peek under the covers, and you would be amazed, like stuff that you used to have to rely on lines and lines and lines and lines of code to implement can now be handled with pure HTML and CSS, because those two, when you know what you're doing with those two, they're amazingly powerful. And the new version has been working on for a long time, and I stay on top of those kinds of things. So we're starting to see so right now it's HTML5 and CSS 3, 4, CSS 3. See, because I'm always looking ahead, are pretty much the standard, right? They're the de facto standard that people are working off of. However, I like to stay a little ahead of things. So HTML6 and CSS 4 are coming, and they work, you know, they'll be released together, and we're already starting to see them in the wild, because the browser companies obviously are starting. You don't wait for these things to get the final stamp, right? You start to work with them and play with them and test them and start to integrate them so that when it's available, you're already there. And I'm noticing more and more that the browsers are definitely loading up more of the upcoming stuff, so it's going to get even better. So that's absolutely the truth. I mean, it's the good and the bad thing about technology. So I've been having to do a lot of shows lately because of the 3G shutdown and other things that are going on, and people are understandably frustrated because, you know, I like my phone, I don't want to get rid of my phone. What do you mean this feature isn't going to work in my car anymore? So that's the downside of it, right? Technology is always evolving, and the reality is in order for things to move forward, some stuff is going to fall off. So that'll be, you know, old browsers, old devices, all that kind of thing. It's the price we pay to get better, cooler stuff. But that's, you got to take the good with the bad in life, right? Most of the time. Sometimes you do have to stand up for yourself. But that's a conversation for another time. All right, everybody. So I hope that you will go and give these a try. As I said, go and check the description, because the link is in there so you can learn a lot more about all of the cool stuff you can do with that at menu. I highly recommend you give it a test drive, because it's not only super functional and efficient, but it's fun. Because technology should have an element of fun with it wherever we can possibly get it. And for those of you who are new here, I didn't really introduce myself at the beginning. My name is Kathleen. I'm Here's Your Tech Coach. My day gig is technology. My hobby is technology. So it's easy for me to stay up to date on this kind of stuff. And then I share that with my friends and family and their friends and family, which led me to understand that not everybody has somebody like me to talk to about tech. So that's why we do these shows. So if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you want me to do a show on a particular topic, like Marcus just gave me a great idea. Marcus is my best friend right now. You can go to yourtechcoach.net and fill out the form and let me know what it is. Like I said, it could be an idea for a show or whatever. All I ask is if you're in need of help and you need a fast response, please make sure you give me a way to get back in touch with you. Preferably email. That's usually the easiest way. Otherwise, all I can do is save it for a future show. So thank you so much for coming to hang out. I hope you will go and give these things a try. They will definitely make your life easier if you can start to implement them. And just get used to using them. And like I said, you can use them from a document you create from scratch, or if you're using a template. It's good to go on both sides. Hey, Tyler. Sorry, I'm wrapping up, but thank you for coming by. I appreciate that. And I hope I will get to talk to you all soon. I'm here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But you can always come back and watch the videos and get caught up that way, too. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. Go play with the Google Docs. It does a lot more than you think. We'll talk soon. Bye.